Hi, Miss Jill here. Today we're going to paint like Monet, Claude Monet. Claude Monet lived 1840 to 1926, and he was an Impressionist painter. That's a certain school of painting that was started. And it all started with a painting he did called Impression Sunrise, this one. He named it that. And then somebody in the newspaper, press person, wrote that started calling him an Impressionist. And they often, the impression is sort of like their feeling about what they see, and they love different moods. So they'd often paint, he would often paint things like many times, like these haystacks. Sometimes it's morning light, sometimes it's sunlight, sometimes there's snow. You can notice there's a bigger shadow here in this one. So it's probably a different time of day. So today, and he's really known, whoops, there goes my purple paint. All right, he's really known for his two different subjects. There's the water lilies, that's what we're basing today's on, and the Japanese bridge. Now, a lot of my students have already done a water lilies type painting with me, so I'm going to give two options in case you've already done this water lily project. So here, let me show you what a finished one looks like. That's what it looks like. And Impressionists often had like a lot of little details, little strokes like that. See, look at some close-ups. And then when you look farther away, they kind of blend together. It looks different. And a lot of his paintings are huge, to cover a whole wall of them. You see them? Hope you can see them someday. They're beautiful. But they look very different up close than far away. That's called optical blending. That means anything that's optical has to do with your eyes, like you go to get your glasses at the optician's office. So it means that your eyes kind of blend the colors together. So if there's blue next to red, when you look at it farther away, your eye does the blending and makes the purple. All right, so let's get started. The drawing part is very easy. So here, okay, so that's our model. That's part of a panel of a very big painting. I'm gonna put it up close. All right, so the drawing is the easiest part. It's basically 2 lines to start. Let me put this up here. So you're just gonna draw a tree. This is looks like a weeping willow tree. It'll go down like that. It's smaller at the top. It gets a little bigger at the bottom. I'm drawing it dark, but I want you to draw it very light. Okay, I just want you to see it. Now, the water lilies, I think it's kind of fun. You can paint them in later if you want with green paint, but I think it's kind of fun to do a little, it's called a resistance painting, where you do some crayons first, all right, and then you paint right over it, and the wax resists it. Now, when it's closer to you, they're going to be bigger, and when it's farther away, see, it's a little bit messy, it's not perfect. And when it's farther away, they're smaller. And I wouldn't put them too high up. And you could use like 2 different greens. It's always good, usually, to use different tones of whatever color. Makes it more interesting. And okay, so you have that. Then pick some colors. They use a lot of Impressionists use a lot of purples, blues, pinks. They hardly ever do any black. That's what they're known for. A lot of white. So here's my little water lilies. You put a little line up in the middle, and then like some little spikes out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it looks like a cute little flower. So do all those flowers. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how I did the background. All these little dashes of color. So you're going to mix up some blues and some, let me get my purple on the floor. Some blues and some purples. And take a small brush. Your brushes should be marked with numbers. This is a number 4 pointed round. If you don't have that, you could use number 6 or number 2 or just any any brush you find that is, you know, pretty small and pointed. So you're just gonna do little, oops, let me do it so you can see it here, little dashes. And if you just place the brush down, it almost like makes the dash itself for you. So, and you're gonna go right over your, you know, your flowers and your lily pads. Remember to keep reloading your brush. Goes all the way to the top. Make sure it goes close to the tree too. And skip around. Then you can do blues. I would do like a light blue for your palette, a dark blue, and a light violet, purple, and a dark one, right? And I'm not gonna do the whole thing. It'll take me like, it took me a little while. It took me at least an hour to do that. So that's what you do for that part. For the tree, we're also gonna do a little mixed media resist. Take some different browns and you're gonna do a rough texture, like a tree bark, right? So do different browns. And as always, you can do, this is a shape of a cylinder really, so you could do darker on the sides and lighter in the center, and that'll make it look a little more round. And then later, after you fill it all in, I don't have time on video to do the whole thing, so I'm going to give you the short version. Take some brown paints, like I'll give you some names like burnt umber, burnt sienna are good names. And you're just going to cover it with the watercolor paint. This is what you do after this part dries. Okay. All right, so. And I also went back later and took some greens and I went over the lily pads just a little bit. It made them a little more interesting, and it kind of blended them in. You don't want them to stick out too much. So here's some more close up, right? You see those water lilies? I put a little paint on top. So the next part is the last part is the falling green of the tree, like a weeping willow tree. Okay, so I have two different greens. I have a sap green and a viridian green. Now I used the ones in the tubes. You can buy these tubes. You put a little pea size of the paint in and add water. I like to have one of these little squirting things, but you can also just dip your brush and put the water in or pour it however you like. And you mix it up in a little container. Yogurt containers are great too, if you don't have the art containers. And then if you don't have that kind of paint, use the little packs. I'm sure you've seen these. Oops, one popped out. Like this. Those are nice too. Okay. And, oh, sort of by mistake, I put, one of my colors had a little bit of, like a little glittery shimmer in it. And I called that a happy mistake because I think it looks nice. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but anyway. So you're gonna mix up your green, your viridian green, and your sap green. If you wanted a little more like a lime green color, you could put more yellow in there, but it's good to have two different ones. And if your color is if your green is too bright, here's a little color theory. You put the opposite color, and the opposite of green is red. You just look right across the color wheel and just put a tiny drop of red in your green if you don't, if you think it's too bright, it's too like fruity looking. All right, so here is, now you paint watercolor flat, but I'm gonna do my best to show you how to do these leaves. You start at the top and you just wiggle down, right? And you have to dip for each new one. Leave a little space in between and leave different lengths. When you start it, press on the brush and then start lifting up, and that'll make it thinner as you go down. So you go across, rinse in between. I have a little water there. Now take your lighter color, do the same thing in between, press, and then just start to lift, do a little squiggle. And you don't want them all the same length. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like a natural tree. You want them like different lengths down. And you do them, kind of make it shaky, like you're nervous. You're gonna paint it like a little, like let your hand just shake a little and squiggle, like that. So if you do that, you'll be left with this painting. Now, just a quick note for my friends who have been in my studio and done that project already. Here's a Japanese bridge. And by the way, these are scenes from his backyard. That was his backyard in France, and you can go visit it. They kept a lot of it the same, and it's a pretty amazing backyard. You could Google it and look at pictures of it in real life, but that's a Japanese bridge. So, if you already did my project with the water lilies I just showed you, try this. Take a piece of paper. I would do it vertically. And you're gonna draw, this is hard to draw upside down, an arch for the bridge. So you just go like this, like sort of like you're doing a rainbow. And then underneath it, you do another one. All right. Now take some crayons. Start with very light pencil. I'm doing it dark so you can see it. You're gonna go like this on both sides. Any color, blue, purple, you know, it's your impression. You're an impressionist, so do your impression. And you put the line straight down, like this. Go across. You could do the same thing with the lily pads that I showed you, all right? They get smaller as they go away. You do this, you can put the little flowers, same flowers. And you can really get fancy and do like, say the sun is shining this way, you would have a little shadow underneath the bridge on this side. And then if you really want to do it right, get white for a highlight, and the other side you put a little white. And then when you paint over that, let me see if I can give you kind of an example. Yeah, with blue, with a little blue. When you paint over that, it's going to be really nice. So to paint this one, do the same thing, but you're going to put a lot of greens. You see how there are a lot of greens? And this picture has a lot more flowers, so you could do that too. You could either paint the flowers or you could do them with crayons first. So I would say give it a try, and if you want to, you could post it on my Facebook page, and I hope you have fun. Okay, see you next time.